Greg Buckley here, and we're going to be on the shop here today with my good friend Ryan Kuhnle, who is a ex-shop owner. I said, I don't know, the word's not retired. It's not the word I want to use. Anyway, a few weeks back, he gives me a text, and he follows me on social media, and he gives me a text, hey, come on for a round of golf. I go, sure, great, man, not a problem. So we finally got our schedule together, and here we are. And I said, we got to do it. We got to do a little clip because Ryan's got a special story that his passions led him away from the repair shop but not the automotive business, not the automotive industry. And so his passion he found through talking and self-awareness and everything that goes with it led him to a new direction, yet one that fulfills him. Kind of like where I want to be when I get my golf game finally situated and stuff like that. So, by the way, he can hit a golf ball. He can hit a golf ball. He can play. Amazed, at how well he can hit a ball. And for me, I pretty much crapped out on the 13th hole, and I was embarrassing myself and had to get home. And
we had a great time.
Yeah, we had a great time. We really did.
Now we're on the 19th hole.
Now we're on the
both
19th
playing
hole,
well.
and right, it's really good. So Ryan, the story that you have is really, I found it, one, knowing you and then watching you be a shop owner and actually visiting your shop and seeing what goes on. And then when I heard that you were moving away from it, I think myself and a lot of other people were kind of like, all right, kind of shocked, because it wasn't that you were doing bad, it was just that it wasn't you. So what drove you, what was your passion? How did you find your passion to do what you wanted to do?
To make a short story long, I rented a shop first before I bought the shop we were in for a while, and I was 24 when we started, so pretty young, and I don't always think things through.
Like most of us.
Yeah, right. But it's why my wife and I are meant to be together. Like she's the thinker in the group, and she pulls me back down to reality. But yeah, I came home. I said, "Hey, the shop's for rent." It was actually a shop I worked in high school.
Right.
I knew the guy, and so I said, "It's for rent. Hey, I'm good at fixing cars.
Yeah,
let's do it." And it was a quick realization of like, just because I'm good at fixing cars doesn't mean I'm good at running a business. And so because I'd already made that mistake, let me make another mistake and move and buy a building. And so that's what we did. So we bought our shop in 2013 and moved location just a couple miles. And we did that, and just the trials and tribulations. I'm working twice as hard, making the same money, all that stuff. So that's it. Right. We actually got involved with ATI then. A little aside, I actually didn't meet you, but I knew you because I remember seeing you on the cover of Ratchet and Wrench. I think. Is that right? That's right. I forget. That's probably more than 10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, I think it was 2014 was 10 years, right?
Yeah,
with first cover. Yeah. With Google Glass.
Yeah, that's right.
And
from there, I just remember saying, fairly local. We're an hour away, or 45 minutes away from each other, and I remember saying, okay. And then when I took the class at ATI, the marketing class, with you, like, this is a guy on Ratchet and Wrench, and so we discussed that before. The whole ATI journey was a mixed bag. A lot of good things started out. I met a lot of good people. Really kind of helped me realize that there's a difference of running a business and being in the shop and all that kind of stuff. So fast forward a little bit, we were doing okay, small shop, but just all the typical headaches. But the biggest thing is I didn't have a passion for it. And one of the things I realized about myself then, maybe beforehand, but certainly since then, is just that if I don't have the passion for it, it's hard for me to stay focused and really give my best. And so I was caught in this place of, like, we're doing okay, but really I need to do better. If I want to do better, I need to really get laser focused here. And I just couldn't. And I was just the inner kind of turmoil, really.
Yeah, you were purgatory.
Really, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing with life? And that question I think a lot of us maybe have asked ourselves. What am I supposed to do? In high school, when I was in 8th grade, I was certain I was going to go into the armed services, but then I realized I'm not good at listening to people, so I didn't want to do that. And then in 10th grade, I was certain I was going to work on cars. And then in 11th grade, I was certain I was going to be a history teacher. And then in 12th grade, I was certain I was done with school, so I went into working on cars. And it was great. I love cars. I still love cars. I loved cars then. It's all I could think about and dream about. And I went in and did that. But there was always still this nagging feeling of something else. And all along the way, I worked with youth in different capacities, youth group at our church for many years. And that always kind of like had some fulfillment.
But you were saying that your turning point in making something concrete happen, or to actually, like you were given permission by a gentleman, Monty Dvbvig.
Yep.
Monty Dvbvig. And
yep. The moment happened. My father-in-law passed away suddenly, and the last thing he told me was that he thought I should be an auto shop teacher in a Votech. He said, through an experience of him working in a Votech. And it kind of it went in and was just rattling around in there. And then in the 20 group I was in, I was crying in a beer with Monty. And after him listening to me boo-hoo for long enough, he said, what do you want to do? He said, you've sat here and complained enough. What do you want to do? And I said, I think I want to teach. My father-in-law said something about teaching, and I said, I think that's what I'm supposed to do. I really. And he said, okay, well then do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's some of the things that a lot of it doesn't matter if you're a small business person or whoever. Some people just don't know their direction, and it takes a while for them to find it. And all of us, it might be when we're 23, it might be when we're 33, it might be when we're 60 or 70. You don't know. Sure. But finding it and then pursuing it makes your life happier. And there's a lot of, I mean, we talk about shop owners, you know, but I look at small businesses, and you feel like you're trapped. Or if you're like a technician who doesn't think that they can grow out of being a tech into an owner or a business person. Sure. And it's either, I want to say, it's not so much reaping the rewards, it's actually mental health and feeling good about what you're doing. And that's where you found, you were given permission, and then the rest of the story was where you came back and then you followed up, and all of a sudden here you are on that pathway.
Right.
Now, how did you get that pathway?
Yeah, I needed to just kind of be working outside of the shop a little bit, and it was just something for my own sanity. I needed to just be out of the shop for a little bit, and I was working at this farm actually that's near us, just a couple hours a day to just kind of clear my head, and I got a text, and the text was from a customer of mine, and who worked at a Votech, and said, our auto shop teacher left. You're in the business. Do you know anyone that would be interested in teaching? And I remember just staring at it. And I mentioned to you that, like, okay, it can't be this easy.
Right.
Like, I asked for a sign from the Almighty, but I didn't know the sign was going to be this clear. So are you sure this is the sign? Like, wait a second. Maybe it's not the sign because it's too clear. And I responded back, actually, I've been thinking about this. And he said, okay. So we put the wheels in motion, and within a couple months, I went back to school and started teaching. And it has been a challenge. And I'll be the first to tell you, sometimes I would bash teachers, you know, having summers off and all that.
Right.
And listen, it's a different work than working with your hands. It's a different side of your brain. It's different, whatever. And it was tough. A friend of the family who was a teacher for his whole career said the first 3 years of his teaching career, he wanted to quit every day. He said, but it was the first day of his 4th year that he realized this is what he was supposed to. Like that from then on, that was it. And fortunately, it didn't take quite that long. But the first couple years had some bumps. But it is difficult in a different way, but it is tremendously rewarding for me.
That's good.
It's fulfilling. It's fulfilling. And the summers off are great. And your golf game gets better when you have 2.5 months.
I did hear about that. You do putt around the house, and you know you practice a lot. Because now I know why you're hitting like 250, 270 yard drives, and I'm hitting like maybe 180, 190.
Wow. And if you knew how much I practiced, you'd be like, man, you stink.
Yeah,
You should be better for
I
as much as you practice. That's
no. You're doing. I mean, that was some tremendous drives you had. It was great, you know.
But so but it's interesting. And then with my students, I try to talk about that. I don't want to share the whole story with them, but talk about that money is one thing, and that we all certainly want to make money, and money does make some problems go away.
Well,
but if you're not fulfilled,
right, that's the
if
thing.
you're not fulfilled, it doesn't matter how much money there is, you'll never be fulfilled.
Now, discussing that, one of the things that we talked about was the fulfillment side, but every day, I think you made a mention that the kids, the students that you're teaching in automotive, and we want to be clear about that you know, Ryan is teaching automotive here at the local tech high school. And what's the name of that school?
Yeah,
again?
it's called Technical College High School. And so it's a, if you remember back to the VOTEC,
yeah, it's a
VOTEC,
right.
and it's high school, public high school students.
Yeah.
And we get students from several different districts in the area that send there.
That's perfect.
Yep.
And one of the things that I enjoyed hearing is that you're teaching them that, you know, at the end of the day, our career, we start something in the morning and it's finished sometimes in a few hours, sometimes by the end of the day. But at every day, a tech accomplishes something.
Yep.
And that's really important because there is that fulfillment that, hey, I had this issue. They came to me because of my skill set. I accomplished and I was rewarded, or I was paid, hopefully paid well. And that's something that I think kids today need to hear. They don't need to hear, as you were explaining, that you're going to make $200,000, $300,000 a year. You're going to be right out of college or right out of school and stuff like this. There is that journeyman situation, that internship that everybody has to go through.
Of course.
The way that you were describing how you prepare them for that, I mean, it seems like you're a no-nonsense guy.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun.
Right.
But it's not always fun.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes it's down to business, but the fun comes because of, I guess, some of the structure and things like that. But it comes back to that I feel an obligation to help prepare them as best I can. And sometimes that is no nonsense. And sometimes that is the not fun stuff. Like sometimes working on cars is not fun.
No.
The end result can be.
Right.
The end result can, but sometimes there's that part in the middle where it's not that you got to power through. And that's no different than life or anything else. Anything else worth doing.
Right.
Sometimes it's sometimes difficult. But that right. And we talk about with the students that the fulfillment, that the money is one thing, working on car, whatever, but you have to feel some kind of fulfillment for it. And there's a lot of room in the industry to do that. It's not always just working on the line fixing cars.
No, it's not.
That there's lots of room for
Right.
if you're a people person, you can write service, so you can be a concierge or whatever. There's lots of room.
Now, is there any room in your class or curriculum that has those, that if the skill set isn't there for being a tech, are you looking at it being a writer or being on the ops side of the business?
Absolutely. And so there are some specific things and some not. I mean, even just with our curriculum, there's things in there like phone courtesy and writing an estimate and talking to the customer and things like that. But also outside of that, we try to do, and our administration's great about letting us take field trips and having guest speakers come in and to see the different options. Also, too, part of the requirement for graduation is doing a job shadow.
Okay.
And I encourage them to do several job shadows, whether it's at an independent and then compare that to a dealership and compare that to manufacturing or whatever. And so sometimes seeing and thinking, oh, wait a second, there's more than just working on a car. I can do other things. So try to exposure, I guess, is sometimes.
Do the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, in terms of you going through your experiences in the automotive, I mean, you find that you have a passion. What is driving you forward? Like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years?
Yeah, and that's I think about that sometimes, probably more often than I should, I guess, because I think about what's next. I really don't want to get to a point like I kind of feel like I've hit not a plateau, but like things are running pretty smooth.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing about that is now I can kind of tweak things that
Yeah.
I've taught the same thing a couple times now. But it's like, well, what's next? How can I improve? How can I help kids? Because with 25 students, it's kind of the shotgun method. Like, the shotgun, you aim for the middle and kind of get the middle and get a little bit of this out, a little bit of that.
Right.
And so how can I help a student that needs extra time doing a task maybe that someone got in an hour and they need a couple weeks to perfect it? How can I help bring them along? But at the same time, how can I help a kid that is 10 steps ahead and keep him moving or her moving as well?
Right.
And so really that's actually was one of my professional goals that we have to have during the school year. That was one of them. And I call them my what's next activity, that we're doing, say, replacing shock absorbers. And they have to do on three different cars, replace shock absorbers on it. And there are some times where a kid comes back and it's like, I'm all done. They're like, what? Like, how the heck? Like, I want to pay you flat rate,
Right.
And legitimately did it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, well, what's next for this kid? Because I'm going to keep challenging them.
Sure.
While other kids at a normal pace are learning to do that. What's next? And so that's been one of my goals too.
Okay.
What's next? Also, we have. I've been trying to do more and more automotive competitions, and there's actually a decent amount of them around. The Philly Dealers Association does one. Pennsylvania PAA does one out in Hershey.
Right.
And so we've done them, and I really enjoy doing that because some of these students, and that's the old common misconception too about VOTEC kids, is like they're the smoking in the bathroom, dropout, whatever, and we're pretty much all over that. We understand that there are a lot of smart kids, and maybe they just, like, regular school wasn't for them. Right. And also too, a lot of times they're not jocks, they're not whatever, they didn't win these awards. Well, they come and we do some of these competitions, and we did really well this year. And I say we, all I did was drive the van to take them. They did it all. But they competed and won lots of scholarships. And sometimes that's the only, like, that's the first time they've competed. And I think that as human beings, like, all of us are competitive. Some of us at different levels than others. But to compete and show off your skill is so valuable. And seeing these kids be so proud of themselves, and their parents and their school and their classmates be proud, drives me to help them. And not at the expense of leaving anyone behind, but really to drive and keep working with them and get other people to work with them and bring them along to keep succeeding in these competitions.
Well, how do you parallel? I mean, you've got your two young kids, and you're growing a family.
Yeah, three. One's just not
three.
here.
That's right. Three. Sorry,
That's
three kids.
right.
That's right. Right. One's away. Now, three kids. One's a teen, right?
Yeah.
He's 14, and the other two are a little younger.
Yeah.
But how do you find yourself with temperament and discipline and process or whatever, compared to your class, compared to your family?
Yeah, good thing they're not.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And it's
Do they know
interesting
Dad
that-
this way and not that way?
I fight with myself. I have more patience and stay calmer usually at school than I do at home.
I would figure, It's because it's like,
and some of it is because, I want my children to be taught a certain way and turn out a certain way, that sometimes I have less tolerance for things.
I share the same thing. My expectations of my kids are a lot higher than if you're a stranger, and I'm teaching or showing you what's going on. My kids, we have had battles when they would come, Dad, you never said anything about it. I go, what do you mean I said anything about it? I didn't have to. You're with me. You were raised in my household. And it's like the expectations are a lot greater.
Right. But what's interesting too is we were talking about my son playing baseball, and I help coach. I have so much more patience when teaching something to them than, like, if they don't do the dishes.
Okay. All right.
During baseball, I won't yell. I'm not the crazy coach. Like, if something happens, you make an error, like, well, let's back up. Like, do you not know how to do this?
Right.
Or did you just make an error? And if that's the case, we just need more reps and more practice, and hey, it's okay. You know, like that's how it
But
goes.
it comes to how,
But not like, you don't put the Tupperware on the bottom rack or the dishwasher. What are you doing? You know this. I sometimes get more angry at home than the teaching situation. But
that's funny. You don't put the Tupperware in the bottom.
it's going to melt.
It's going to melt, right? That's hilarious, man. So you've been at it now for what? 6 years? 5 years?
I think that was my 7th year.
Seventh
eight
year.
Parts of 8 school years. Yeah, because
Okay.
I started halfway through the first year.
Okay.
Yep.
And so now you're pretty much you're a tenured
Yeah.
instructor.
Man. Yep.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, still a lot to learn, and that's another thing too. Just like with having a shop, we're just in the industry too. That not only keeping up with technology, but I try to always shadow other teachers, not just in my building and not even in my subject area, but constantly learning, because there's always something I could do better.
Do you network with other teachers and instructors across the country? I mean, or other programs?
Yeah, there's that's one of those things that I think we've tried, or people have tried, and it sounds like a great idea, and you do it, and then you just kind of get lost in the day-to-day. And
I got you.
And just like anything, hey, it's a great idea, we should do this, and when we do it, it's valuable, but then...
But you can't follow up, and nothing gets anywhere,
Sure.
Okay.
Yep, and
that does happen.
So there is, and there's some different seminars and things that we'll do, and that's sometimes how I'll meet someone that I'll say, hey, can I come shadow you for a day? And that's really where I've learned a lot, of shadowing good teachers, and just being part of their class, and just sit in the back and just watch how they conduct business. Right. And that has been very, very helpful.
Being a good listener.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
very,
I'm
very
not
important.
always. For
I
sure.
know.
Yeah.
I'm not either.
Yeah, but
I talk more than anything else.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Me too.
that's been my problem.
Yeah.
But it's always fascinating how people. I mean, what I like talking about is exactly this: is finding where your passions are, what made you do things the way you were doing. You know, the shop wasn't for you, the auto repair business wasn't for you, but at the same time, here you are, still in the industry.
Right.
You know, and that is incredibly helpful. We need a lot of talent, like, and really a personality as yourself, who understands discipline, understands vehicles, can teach, mentorship. With kids today, we all know that, they may not have had that growing up. You've had situations in your class, some of the classes you had, where there was no structure. There was no mentorship. There was no one individual who was, and the kids were just going on their way. And you've had some difficult times with a few of them. And now here you are, you're pretty much more stern because you're committed. They feel you're committed, and they appreciate that.
Yeah. And I think I also know, too, under all of that, that I care too. And my assistant principal, my principal, excuse me, I remember in the interview he said, "Do you think these lanternflies?" He said, "Do you think your student should like you? Like, do you think a student should like the teacher?" And I remember having to think about that for a second. I said, that is not my primary goal. I think there should be a level of respect, but then it should get to the point where they like going to class. Yeah. And it's not like, and a different type of like than being friends, but hey, I like my class. I like going there. And that, so I always, that stuck with me, and I think about that too, that I want kids liking coming to class, but also know that you're going to work too. The other interesting thing though about kids, because it's all, every generation, right? I don't know if you remember the Woodstock documentary, right? Yeah. That they are interviewing people in the town, and they're interviewing this old curmudgeon, right? And they're asking, "What do you think of these dang kids smoking weed and doing drugs and all this stuff? These kids, they're ruining America." And now what's funny is those kids that were at Woodstock are saying
the same
"Hey,
thing.
these dang kids."
Yeah.
I only say that to say that, generally speaking, in my impression, after running a shop and having to hire people, not a lot, but having to hire people, that I think across society, there's like 10% that are super high flyers, right? The people that will be successful at everything and anything they do. 10% are just down here that are always, and then everyone at 80%'s in the middle.
Right.
I don't think that's any different than students today.
Nothing. You're right.
And it's just different. Like the annoyances are different.
Yeah.
And I'll see kids that after now 7, 8 years of teaching, I'll see a kid and be like, "You are just like so and so. Only the faces and the names change. It's the exact same.
Well, you sound like
your
your dad
right.
when you do that stuff, right?
Exactly. But so anyway, to give credit, we're like, I always say this at graduation. Like I look at these kids graduate, I'm like, you know what? We're gonna be okay. We'll be all right.
Yeah.
And it's just different challenges.
It's like that Who song. The kids are all right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
And yeah, every generation is going to be different.
Yep.
We talked about that and how we have to understand that with new things come new way of doing things, new techniques. It's evolution.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't think that you're going to be the same way you were 10 years ago.
Sure.
And that's,
Something else with passion too. When we were talking about this about passion, and I try to impart this to that, like the passion for cars. Most of my students come in with a passion for cars,
right.
which is awesome. But there's still a lot of time, most times, not always, but most times, like another passion you have too. So a lot of the kids that come in have a passion for cars.
right.
And I guess what I mean by something different is like their passion still could be cars, but it's like different than working on cars, if that makes sense.
No, I get it.
They're
Yeah.
just working on grandma's Toyota or
Yeah.
working on
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
But
Yep.
then they go to a car meet or a coffee and cars, and it's like it's still cars, but it's a different passion.
Right.
And that most people, most human beings, you have some other passion besides just work, and that's normal and healthy and should be pursued.
It should be, and that's where you have to nurture, because what I find is the kids come in and they like working on cars, but they don't understand why the car has to be repaired. That someone's family is depending on that motor vehicle getting from A to B safely, soundly, reliably, and that's a whole nother level of responsibility. And sometimes I find that kids can't accept that or don't take a while to understand that. And I don't know how to foster to foster a change in that mentality for them to say, oh, you know what, my career is all about responsibility, making sure that vehicle is safe for that family or that person or my mom or my grandma. If we could flip that switch, and instead of going, I like working on cars, but I want nitrous oxide in them, and I want to be able to go 100 miles an hour in a second or 10 feet. Speed and all that stuff. They see all the shows. They have all the influencers coming in. That's why I feel some of our youth may get lost in the sauce, because they take they come in and they want to be able to make the car go 0 to 60 in 1 second.
Right. And maybe that differentiating between passion and work, or even pulling back the curtain and meeting the customer or seeing the customer that, hey, this family is going on vacation, they need this car for reliable transportation, or they got to go to work or whatever. And sometimes that pulling back the curtain maybe.
So let's get out of the classroom. What about the golf course? What about golf, man?
It's fun. I grew up playing golf. My dad introduced us to golf at a very young age, and so all growing up it was just a thing.
Right.
And I kind of joked that I was very fortunate growing up. My dad traveled a lot, which then allowed us to travel a lot. And vacations usually had a big golf element to it.
Okay.
And it was kind of one of those things. My dad was really, really good about not pushing us into things, but still having a level of, what's the right word? Like you're going to do something, you do it right, but he's not going to force us to do something. And so it was kind of a joke that we'd go on vacation. You don't have to play golf, but your other option is just sit in a hotel room.
So basically, you're going to be on a golf course.
And I always loved it, but I didn't take it seriously through high school. My brother pursued a career in golf for a while after high school, and he got real good, and that was always kind of his thing. And I would just go play, and I love playing. I love hanging out with my dad, my brother, and my mom played too. And then having the shop, I just kind of took time off. But what I discovered is that during the time having the shop, that I really discovered that I'm a competitive person. Or it really dawned on me. and like at a family picnic and there's badminton, like I will dive and skin my knees and all, like to beat a 8-year-old niece or whatever. Like I can't help it. And I'm also good about not like being a sore loser or anything, but I don't want to lose.
You don't want to lose.
I don't want to lose. And I don't care whether we play
And,
a board
and that's the reason
game.
why there was no gimmies. I didn't.
I gave you some.
You did.
Stop
You
it.
did. I know. We.
But whether it's a board game or whatever it is.
Right.
So, and after high school, I got into drag racing.
Okay.
And just on a local level, and
Yeah.
I raced a lot. And then after that, I got into trying to get myself a little healthier. I got into running and biking and swimming, so I did some triathlons, and I felt that same competitiveness in that. And not just the actual competitive, but like the training for it. I would enjoy it, but every time I'd train, anytime I'd do anything, it's always like with the goal of winning
Yeah.
in mind. And then I realized that's hard work, and I did that for many years, and that was really my like stress relief when I still had to shop. It was like a lot of that. I was like, man, it's really hard to run 100 miles a month and bike
Yeah,
and swim
you
and all
know
that
that.
stuff. So like, yeah.
Okay.
And so around COVID, when I started teaching, actually,
Yeah.
started a group of teachers. We got back into golf, and I found that I could be competitive even just playing alone. That I'm being competitive and playing, try to have a better score, whatever else. And so I've just been head first back in it the last
I love
4 or
golf.
5 years.
Yeah. You know, that's for me. That's my
Yeah.
relief too.
Yep. And now, so it's kind of taken over where, like, what has shifted is the vehicle for me to be competitive.
Yeah.
That it was drag racing, it was triathlons, now it's golf, and well, golf isn't as healthy as running triathlons. I might put a few pounds, but,
I look
hey,
at it.
whatever.
Well, I mean,
I'll
you're
walk
40,
and-
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So wait till you get a couple years on you. You know, you'll learn to appreciate it.
Yeah.
I think that golf is the ultimate competitive sport. I say that because I love it, but
Yep.
it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
You sticking a ball,
Right.
and whatever shot you make is
Yep.
all because of you.
Exactly right.
You know, so I do tend to I was very kind today on the course because I know what kind of man you are, and I said I do not want to embarrass myself with any
All
off
good.
language, and I was very calm.
Yep.
But I do get very angry
Yeah.
when I cannot make a shot.
I'm with you. Yep.
So, but again, I think it's healthy to have that release,
Right.
so that you come home and you don't take it out anywhere else but say the golf
Sure.
course or the gym,
Yep.
or if you run,
Yep.
whatever it is, and that's important. So.
Yep. Softball. I forgot I played
Oh, we played
adult
softball.
softball for a long time.
Okay.
My wife
I can
calls
see
these.
that.
My wife calls these hobby of the month.
Hobby of the month.
I've had a lot of
I bet
hobbies.
she
It's like-
might love it.
Yeah.
Meg
So-
comes home. What's it this month?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. But yeah, and that so for me that leisure time, just knowing that I am competitive, I need something to be able to be competitive. And my brother and my dad were good athletes. I guess I didn't take it seriously enough, or
Right.
I got my mom's
Probably found
genetic
you-
genes,
Well,
whatever.
you found
like-
it too easy, probably.
No.
Okay.
I always struggled with it. Like I had to put a lot of work in to be
Really?
good at something. And with golf too, I put a lot of
yeah.
work into.
Doesn't seem it, but I mean, you make it look very easy. You have a very great, you have a really sweet swing.
Thank
and-
you. Yeah. And a lot of that my dad taught me young,
Mm-hmm.
so that helped. But a lot of it's just a lot of practice, which I enjoy now.
Best course you played?
Probably and I don't remember every hole. I think I was 13 or 14 when we played there. But there's a club in Bermuda called Mid-Ocean Club.
Okay.
And a gentleman my dad did business with was
Mm-hmm.
a member there, and so me and my brother and my dad got to play there. And that was very nice. I'd say that was just the location alone. That
Sure.
kind of made it
Pretty nice.
pretty special. The other thing about I'm kind of a bad judge of golf courses too,
Really?
because of the competitiveness. And this might not make sense, but like I'd have to play a course a couple times to really appreciate it.
Okay.
Because if I play a course once, I have a photographic memory, and so I'll remember the holes forever,
Wow.
almost
Nice.
forever. And so I can remember a shot, and I can remember what I hit and what I. But I get so focused sometimes on score that I forget about the surroundings. So it could be a goat pasture, or it could be Pebble Beach, and sometimes I forget to stop and look around for a second because I'm so locked
Yeah,
in.
you're
and
locked in, right,
want
right,
to make
right.
par or birdie or
Right.
whatever, and so sometimes I'm not always a good judge of golf courses until I step back and think about it.
About where you played,
Yeah,
and
right,
right, okay.
right,
That-
exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, like today, I understood. You could clearly see the holes and
Yeah.
layout, and so your guidance got me around through. And then you come up with a couple of blind shots, and then all right, well, I was fortunate where I landed well, but looking at where you coming up on it, holy smokes, man, that's really a blind shot.
Yeah.
Where you got to come into the green. So it's courses to me. I like courses that are going to challenge me.
Yep. But not be unfair.
Not
That's
unfair.
right. Yeah, I don't like getting penalized for a good shot.
No, because you got nobody that can help you find the ball. You know,
Right.
you're not in a gallery looking all over, and you got people behind you, so you're pressed a little bit. And,
and then the other thing too is sometimes I'll be biased on a course. Like if I have a good round at a course, like I love that course. Like the first time I play, go out and there's a course near here called French Creek, and it's a beautiful course. And a friend of my dad's had us out there last summer. It was the first time I played it, and it's a very, very nice course. But I had a good round, and I'm like, I love that course. I love it. And people will be like, well, what about that hole? That hole's not that good. I'm like, I love that hole.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, birdie there.
Birdie, right.
But then the next time you play, like, what a stupid hole.
We have some courses down there in the city like that. We played Eagle Landing 3 weeks ago, I think, or something like that. And I've never played it before. It beat me up. Not bad. No, I can't say not bad. I was hitting better then than today. But it had every bit of, I guess, not interference, of a challenge. It had every bit of a challenge, but yet I still enjoyed it because it was fair. When I screwed up, I screwed up. But when I went well, it rewarded you.
Right.
So that was fun, and that's the kind of things. And you bring that all back to business.
Yeah.
You do. Whether you're teaching or whatever, but those situations I find when you're outside the shop and then they teach you and they you come back and go, okay. Well,
absolutely. And also I mentioned when I still had the shop, I was running a bike. A lot of times at lunch I'd go out for a bike ride, extended lunch, and do that stuff. And that, I think sometimes having that leisure, to having a passion out there makes me a better, at the time, business owner, makes me a better husband, father, whatever, where sometimes having that release. Now I have to try to be careful of not overdoing it, because again, with I would have been a good like addict, you know what I mean? Because like I have such an addictive personality that, like, fortunately I steered on the pretty straight and narrow, but
it's very good.
But I just have an addictive personality. I get hooked on something and I get laser focused on it, and it's been a lot of different things in life, but sometimes that makes you better in other areas of having a passion.
Do you feel that the challenge in front of you is to keep that focus on your career now?
Yeah, and that's something I have to be careful about too, is not letting that interfere. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, and some of it helps that, like, I'm in a spot where I know I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
Whether you call it divine or whether you call it whatever it is, like, this is what I'm supposed to do with life. Yeah. And I am so fortunate that I feel that way and have found that.
Do you have the autonomy to I guess, create the curriculum?
I mean, there's definitely, like, my own fingerprint on a lot of things. So the state of Pennsylvania sets what we have to teach, but then how you deliver it kind of is, and that's something that's a lot of fun as well. Putting a spin on it and having the shop. Just like so many stories, and I change the names, but it's like
protect the innocent.
Yeah, of course. But you get stories, and sometimes I'll be honest, I embellish them for to say I'm on stage there.
Of course.
But that's
part of everything that goes in with everything that you're doing to teach.
A friend of mine that's been a big help as a mentor teaching. He said you can't teach outside of your personality.
No, you can't.
And that was really helpful. That I'm a certain way, and I'm just going to have to be as effective as I can.
Yeah. Well, people pick up on that right away. You cannot be phony, especially when you're presenting live.
Yeah.
And if you're trying to put a facade on, it resonates. It gets out there, and people go, "No, I'm not feeling it."
Right.
And I don't think people who teach or speak, they don't realize the energy that you have to be on your feet, on the floor, and you're mentally running a million miles an hour,
Sure.
trying to keep ahead of what you want to say, and teach and
Yep.
all that. So, yeah, there's a lot there, man.
Yep.
There's a lot there.
Yeah, for sure. And that's it's it's been talked about in many books and many different things, and I think even some of the ATI classes that we did about that, the front of house, back of house.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the exact same with teaching. And my worst days teaching, or like worst behavior from students, is usually my fault.
Mm-hmm.
That if I'm not ready when they walk in, if I'm sending an email and I'm not on stage when they come in, it's usually a bad day, and it starts with me.
See,
Most
that's
times.
a hell of a thing to understand.
And I
you're
think
right.
that's looking back, it was no different in the shop. I just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
Then. That if I got things going on in my mind and I'm in a bad mood when the employees come in, it's probably going to be a bad day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sensing that tension. So being on stage and it's exhausting. Yeah, it is. It's exhausting sometimes. Come home and I just want to stare at the ceiling for an hour.
You ever sit down with a little bird? No.
Yeah, something, right? Something. So
I try not to do that every day, but yeah, I know where you're going with it. But it's true. I mean, there's a lot for a lot of owners, and I say owners, but it's more than owners. It's everybody involved with the industry.
Yeah.
We do have a lot of stressors around us, no matter at what level or what position you are in the industry, and those that are able to dilute that stress and somehow dissipate it are the ones that usually succeed, and they really know how to handle themselves. It looks like you're doing a great job with teaching the kids how to stay even keel, which is great. You got a great program going on. You're seven years in,
Yep.
right? So 10 years from now, you look at and you do what?
Hopefully I'm still teaching. And the other nice thing about the organization, that I'm employed by an intermediate unit.
Okay.
And the one of the many nice things about working for that, because there are definitely some that I am vocal that I don't like,
Right,
but
right.
that's bureaucracy. But there are a lot of things I like about working there, and one of them is there's other places, there's room to grow in other ways, and I'm not interested in any of it yet. I'm still really enjoying being in the classroom, and I feel like I have more to offer still, and more to grow, and more to do. But I don't know. I mean, there are other things that I've seen there that I'm like, God, that's interesting. That could be interesting in a certain amount of time.
Well, technology is going to keep us ahead. I mean, there's a challenge and something to teach every day, and technology is giving us that. I mean, if there's one industry that has to incorporate every aspect of engineering, whether you're HVAC, whether you're an electrician, whatever. I mean, it's incorporated in the maintenance and repair of a vehicle, a modern vehicle. A lot of our youth, over there like that. A lot of our youth, really, I want them to understand that as well. And that to give a sense of pride, and I think that's important. So, but well, look, it's been great. It's been great hanging out with you, playing around with you. We had fun. Really enjoyed it. Thank you for giving me a text. We'll have to make this a repeat somehow.
Yeah, please.
But
I got another 6 weeks till I go back.
See, I got to try to make some time. But no, it was a great round of golf. Wish I could have played better for you, but
we had a great time.
Yeah, we did. So, Ryan Kuhnle, automotive instructor at the
Technical College High School. I don't even know what it's called.
Technical College.
TCH. Lots of letters.
It really is. It
Lots
really
of
is.
acronyms.
Up here in Downingtown, we're going to say it's Downingtown, PA. It's a great day up here, and we've gone beyond the shop here with Ryan and myself, and go around the golf and good conversation, and of course we're empty. It's just something else. So anyway, Greg Buckley signing off with Ryan. Have yourself a great day. We'll talk to you soon. See ya.
Thanks, Greg.